Hi there guys, I'm Danny and welcome to this episode of All Monsters Go to Space. Today I'm going to be talking about the Black Dog of Legend. Some may know it better as the Grim or even Padfoot. This is a spectral entity, some say demonic, that can be found in folklore throughout Britain, mainly, but it's also in America, Latin America and Europe, and usually, as you can tell by the name, appears as a big black dog with glowing eyes. They are also said to be shapeshifters that appear at night and are a warning of oncoming death, and some say they are linked to the devil, are ghosts or even hellhounds. They are known to appear at crossroads, cemeteries, execution sites and ancient paths. Some say mainly in Suffolk that black dogs are linked to electrical storms. The origin doesn't seem to have a start date. They seem to have always been around, but it does seem to have a Celtic or Germanic root. This being also has a varying nature depending on where the tale comes from. To some it is sinister and in some rare cases actually harmful. Others say that they are merely a warning, and then a few have said that the dog was a benevolent guardian that would guide lost travellers away from danger, and even might have been guardians to treasure. In the United States, there are a couple of places that have tales of a black dog. In New England, in the Bridgewater Triangle back in the 1970s, Abington town was being tormented by a large black dog. The firemen reported they had seen it attacking horses, and although the police searched for the creature, they couldn't find it. Then one officer saw, gave chase and shot it, but the bullets had no effect and it disappeared for the final time. Over in Meriden, Connecticut, the area called Hanging Hills, it's said to have been haunted by this very entity. Here it is said that if you see it only once, it portends joy, twice will mean sorrow, and if you see it 3 times, it'll signal your death. Throughout a lot of Latin America, they have stories of this creature. In Argentina and Paraguay, it is called lobizon. In Mexico, nahual, as well as hey chiva and huaypec. And it's also called perro negro in some places. It seems that they are believed to be shape-shifting sorcerers or an incarnation of the devil. In Flanders, Belgium in the 18th century, reports of a large black dog with fiery red eyes came in, and in Bologna there was a dog that was wrapped in chains that would roam fields nightly, and it was named Tohen. Also in Lower Brittany there was a story of a ghost ship. It was manned by a complete crew of dead criminals and they had black dogs as guards. And last but not least for mainland Europe, way back in 856 AD in France, one of these creatures was said to appear in a church. It would walk up and down as though searching for something and then it would disappear. Now before I delve into the fairly long list of the black dog in Britain and its islands, I must add in that not all of these entities are black. In some places of northern England and Suffolk there is a white and a shadowy being. In Scotland they have a green being, and the Isle of Man has an entity that is white with red ears. Throughout the Isle of Man and the Channel Islands these creatures have different names. On Normandy they have the Rangardeau, which walks along Bayeux in winter, and surprisingly for a winter ghost, it drags its chains with it. Very A Christmas Carol. In Jersey they have the Chico, and here it is a warning of storms. On Guernsey they have 2 beings. Chico is a headless entity that is the ghost of a past bailiff, Gautier de la Salle, and then there's the Bodou. When this one appears, it is a sign that someone nearby will die. And in the Isle of Man, there was a black dog who acted as a guardian. A group of men were waiting for their skipper so that they could all go fishing. But after waiting all night and well into the morning, they witnessed a storm that would surely have sunk them and their boat. The skipper then finally turned up and told the others that his way had been continually blocked by a black dog and it wouldn't leave until he had turned back. And another one from here is the Moridou, the Manx black dog. It haunts around the Peel Castle. In Cornwall, there are a lot of different black dogs. Down in St. Taith, there is apparently a pack of spectral dogs. They were called Cheney hounds, since they were owned by an old squire called Cheney. There's also a pack down in the St. German area. They are called Dando's dog, and Dando was a wicked priest who loved to hunt, and as the story goes, he was dragged away by the devil. These are not to be confused with the devil's dandy dogs. This pack belongs specifically to the devil and are said to be very dangerous. And finally for Cornwall, there are a few black dog sightings near Launceston. They haunt the roads. In Wales, their counterpart is called Gulgi, the dog of darkness, and it appears as a mastiff with red eyes, and there is one that haunts St. Donald's Castle. Also here in Wales, there is a white dog called Cwn Annwn, and it is connected to the other realm. Up in Scotland, some of their black dog legends are said to be treasure guardians, near the village of Merthley at the Standing Stones. There is also the Muckle Black Tyke that is said to be the devil himself. Now there are just so many sightings and reports around England. In Devon they have the Yeth and the Wisht hounds. The Yeth is headless, rambles around the woods and wails, and the Wisht haunt the moors. In northern England, this omen of death is a Gytrash, once mentioned in Jane Eyre. In Lincolnshire they are called Hairy Jack, and it haunts the fields and village lanes in Hemswell, Brigg and Spalding. This being is said to be gentle and a protector. There are the Gabriel hounds that have human heads and the power of flight, and it's said that if they hover over a house, someone inside will die. In Lancashire and Yorkshire, they have the Skriker and Trash respectively. They wander the woods shrieking and are death omens. In Westmoreland, their black dog is the Capelthwaite. It was helpful to those who worked on the farm by rounding up sheep, but if you were a stranger to this dog, it could be very mischievous. In Tring, Hertfordshire, the entity is said to be the spectral form of Thomas Cooley, who was hanged in 1751 for the murder of Ruth Osborne. In Norfolk, Suffolk and parts of Essex they have the Black Shuck. It's malevolent and terrorizes people, even killing people, but they also have a spectral guardian dog who walk with people on their journey home to protect them from misfortune. For 400 years, the prison of Newgate has been haunted by a black dog that appeared before executions. A farmhouse near Lyme Regis, Dorset, was haunted by a black dog. It never caused harm, but there is a story that a drunk man tried to attack this being with a poker. It ran up the stairs into the attic and disappeared. Just as it did, the man tried to strike it again, but hit a floorboard and discovered some hidden silver and gold. After this, it was said to haunt the lanes that leads to Hay Lane at midnight. In Aylesbury, a man living in said village would go and milk his cows, and as he was walking over one night he saw the black dog. He saw it every night thereafter. Luckily one night he brought along a friend, and again he saw the entity, went to strike it, and as he did so the dog disappeared and he fell senseless. His friend then had to drag him home, and unfortunately he remained speechless and immovable for the rest of his life. In York they have the Barghest. Seeing this being is a warning of bad luck, and it's also said to prey on those who travel by. And finally, it is said that black dogs can be found in almost all churchyards. They guard against any dark force like gravediggers, vandals, and any person who has an ill intent upon the graveyard. Now, a little gruesome fact: a dog would be buried under the cornerstone of the church foundation. They would be the first being buried, and this then means that their spirit was tied to the grounds and would act as a protector. This being can even be found throughout popular culture. The most famous, for my generation at least, may be in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban with Sirius the Grim. Also, Padfoot, the very nickname of Remus Lupin. There is a Grim in the Hound of the Baskervilles, or at least it's said the Hound of the Baskervilles is a Grim. In The Omen, being a giant mastiff that can change its form, and the Wendigo episode of Supernatural. They are also mentioned in The Witches by Roald Dahl, in Faust by Goethe, the novel Ridley Walker by Russell Hoban, the Dresden Files Welcome to the Jungle graphic novel, and there is a pirate in Treasure Island who is called Black Dog. Well, that's it for this video. If you know of Black Dog stories elsewhere, then please let us know. If you liked this video, leave a like, comment, subscribe, and click the bell. You can also find us on Twitter, and we also have a Patreon, and everything will be linked below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!